time I'm going to show you my personal Wolverine and the changes I made compared to when I received it out of the box. But all the changes I made are just cosmetic or externally, as you want to call it. I changed nothing on the inside. I didn't see the point. Maybe when I get more experience I might change something internally. That and the fact it's still in warranty, so I don't really want to touch the inside of the replica. So let's just pick it up. And here it is. This is my Wolverine Forged 10-inch version Gen 1. So why Gen 1? Because basically they discontinued the forged versions, because there's a forged version and a billet version. I will explain that in a moment. They only discontinued the forged ones because to make the forged upper and lower receiver, so that's basically this right here and this, that's what denotes it as a forged, and obviously some of the internals, but that's mainly where it gets its name from. They are produced, or there's a shared process in a real steel manufacturing factory, and because there was such a rush on AR-15s, which is basically what this model is based on, they got product shortages and they had to stop production of the forged. Now they recently picked it up again because there's enough resources, and that's why this is considered a Gen 1, and the ones that you buy now are Gen 2. So let's just start at the front and work our way to the back. So at the front we have a Mad Bull flash hider, a very aggressive looking flash hider, very thick one as well. It's like wider than the outer barrel. Now, to give you an idea what the original one looked like, this is the original one. Now, there was an issue with this one, maybe because it was one of the last ones being produced before they stopped it for the while being. But basically there's something wrong with the internal threads, thankfully, because at the store it wouldn't thread on the barrel, so we were like, oh, I really hope there's nothing wrong with the threads on the barrel, because then you're obviously quote unquote screwed. So we tested a few things and they all threaded on nicely, so the only thing left was to realize there was something wrong with this flash hider, and they all had the same problem, that batch of Wolverines. So the store offered me this Mad Bull option and I'm very happy with it. The other thing you notice are these very nice Magpul MOE rail covers. So they're a sort of hard wearing rubber, and they're actually heat proof because they're intended for use on real steel rifles. So they can withstand a pretty high intensity of heat, because if you have any knowledge of real steel, you'll understand how hot this can get, even if you're just gripping the hand guard. So that's what these are for, to add a bit of comfort, and it actually doesn't really feel like you have the need for a hand guard. Just these rail covers are plenty nice for comfort, but as you can tell, I did add a hand rail. This is from FMA, and it's just a nice and simple angled foregrip for just that added stability, and also allowing me to rest it on a branch or something. That was my idea behind it. Simple, cheap, but there's nothing wrong with simple and cheap. If it works, it works. Moving on towards the main area, we have, let's start with the scope. which is a Vortex crossfire crossbow, sorry. Now this is a fairly new model, so you can tell from the name crossbow, so it's actually a crossbow scope, but the inner sight picture and just the overall design and the magnification for me was very nice. There's a video on it if you want to see it on my YouTube. It was, for me, was perfect because my idea behind it was crossbow and airsoft have the same like curvature, so maybe that will work better. But it just felt like the right choice for me. So this is what's called a short dot. So it's in between a red dot and a full sniper scope, if you so wish to call it. These are not the original mounts, so this one comes just with like the turret mounts, but I went for the cantilever by Vortex. So this is called a sport cantilever. Now the thing is, you may not notice it while holding it sideways, but if I turn it like this, you should see that it is slightly offset to the right. And it's very hard to see, but it's not perfectly centered. Maybe if I turn it the other way, it's not completely in the middle. So it's a 2-inch offset, so I doubt you'll be able to see it. So that's done so that you have a very quick and better aiming sight picture. And plus the fact that it's one piece instead of those two turrets you have to fiddle with. Apart from that, I changed the grip. So standard wise, it comes with this, I don't have the grip with me at the moment, a grip with finger grooves worked into them, but I don't really like that. It just feels uncomfortable. So I went with the Magpul Mo GBBR grip, a lot smoother, so just simple, clean, and a lot nicer grip. And in comparison to the stock one, it doesn't have this bridge, so this is a much more comfortable grip to hold than the stock one. And then the last change I made was this PTS EPS stock, a sort of crane style stock. You can see quite how beefy it is compared to the original one, which I do have. So I'll just grab it. So this is the original one, which I absolutely hate. I'm not saying it's a bad stock, but this was the first thing that flew off. Well, flew off as in I took it off, it didn't come off, just to clarify myself. So I put on the PTS EPS, and it's just a very nice stock. So you can, there's one on each side. So if you press it, it will open, and then you have a very nice compartment to put your batteries if you're running an AEG, or in my case, maybe sweets or medication. I'm not sure, contraband, like heavier BB weights or something. So yeah, very nice stock. Let this one go and just put it on properly. So you have to angle it in from the top and then click it down like that. So you have to, there's a lip at the top. You have to move it in first and then click it down, or otherwise you might force something. Aside from that, it's just a stock forged Wolverine. So there's, I'll make a separate video about what actually makes, what the internals are, the full length of the barrel, the electronics, the features. the abilities, the range, and all of that. This was just to show you what my personal replica is like. There are two things I want to mention because no one seems to want to talk about them, but they are there, which is wobble. So I don't know if you can hear this. There's a slight wobble between the upper and the lower. All Wolverines have it to a certain degree. There are some who don't have it, but then you will be having a hard time taking the pins out. So to take it apart, you have one takedown pin here and one here. You usually only use this one because once this guy is in, they open up very easily. But basically you only start to use this one unless you keep wanting to change uppers. But in my case, only this one. And the issue if you have one that has no wobble is that your pins are very, very difficult to get out and push in. Now, because I have the slight wobble, I have no issue pushing the pins in and out. So I'll just show you. So this side is the side I will come out, and here you have to push. So it's very easy, no tools required. So I just push with my nail, and then I grab, then I've purchased with my nails. So it's a bit, so it's a pin that doesn't really actually come out, and then I can hinge it open. I have to take the grip out. Because it's not the stock, not the grip out, but the bottom of the grip. And then basically I can, I'll show you in a moment. So in my case, you can, I don't know if you can actually, it might not. I'm going to take this one out first. So here we go. So it's a bit stiffer because it's not the original stock. So there is a hole drilled to accommodate the line. But obviously, as it's not stock, it's a bit stiffer. So if you use the original one, it will be a lot smoother. And also, this is an added sleeve because I had a bit of fraying here, so I put this on, and just for me, it wasn't really necessary, but I have like OCD, so I just wanted to put this on as an added safety measure. And obviously you can see how it adds to the thickness, especially here, and that adds to the difficulty of getting it out. So then we have the last one here, same principle, this side, we push. I need to have some purchase. So I'm gonna take it out like this. There we go, carefully. And now we have it apart. So basically that's how it arrives in the box without all these parts on, obviously. And here we have our lower, and a look at some of the electronics on the inside. So that's our fire control board for detecting which position the safety switch is on, and also to detect the bolt release. So if you want to start using it, you plug everything in, you put it in semi, you press the bolt release, and then only then will it fire. Now you're wondering what this is attached to the fire control board. So we have two things. We have the MOSFET for programmability. There is a very tiny, wait a minute. Should be a button on here to program it, which it doesn't, so I'll have to look into that. So basically, this is just your basic MOSFET to protect the battery and to detect any problems. And here we have the connection for our battery. As you can see, it's a very strange connection. I'm not very sure what this is called, but it is not the Dean's or Tamiya connector you're used to. They use these HPA rifles use very little current because it only needs to operate this tiny little board, and this guy over here, that's the HPA engine, as they like to call it, and that's basically all it needs to do. So basically, what does the HPA engine do? It's so there's pressurized air on this from your regulator, and this is a closed valve, and basically what you do is you send current to the solenoid, and that will open and close the valve, giving bursts of air each time. And that's basically all this. So this basically changes if you open up an AEG and you have the gearbox. All of that is basically done by this HPA engine. There's also a strange feature on this one. Yeah, here we go. So I don't know if you can tell, but these two screws, that's a feature. And you have these 2 points here. So these have to make contact with this one or it won't fire. Now, why is that? Because they don't want you to basically use it like this or halfway like this. So it has to be closed up, pins through, correctly positioned, and only then it will fire, because only then the 2 points will make contact. So as you can see, it's very simple. There's like almost nothing inside except, like I just said, the fire control port, and then lower down the trigger group, trigger board, and that's basically it. And then we have our MOSFET and our battery connector, and so you can see it's a lot simpler than an AEG where you have a lot more moving, complicated parts. I'll show you the upper, whoops. So we have the engine, and you can't really see it, but I'll show you like this. Here we have our hop. So it's a partial CNC aluminum hop and then partial plastic. So the wheel is plastic and the arm, so it's a rotary hop, as you can obviously tell. It's a very firm, stiff rotation, so it won't unchange itself, so that's a good thing. The arm, so basically what this does is it pushes an arm up and down, and that arm pushes on the bucking inside of the hop unit. The arm itself is plastic again. There are aftermarket parts to make it aluminum. I am not sure why you would do that, but that is because I am not an expert. I'm very much a novice in these things, so I'm learning as I go into the hobby. Continue into the hobby, obviously. But yeah, that's basically it. There's not really much there is to say. You can see there is this lever, in case you were wondering, what does this do? Well, basically, not this one, obviously, but just gonna test. Yeah, of course, before I say something wrong. So just to show you how it works, if I put the mag in and seat it down properly, because the mag well isn't there, it's getting pushed down. So that means it won't fire without a mag inserted. So that's what this lever is actually for. The other feature this one has is it has a cutoff function. So basically that means I don't have the original mag with me, but basically I'll try and explain it with this one. No, it won't do it. This is a basic mag, so as you can see, if I pull the lock, nothing comes out, but some mags have a follower that completely comes out. Always make sure you push that in, and what it does is it goes into the hub, and the unit or the fire control unit detects this and will cut off your replica. And then to make it function again, you have to push the bolt release. Now this is to simulate a sort of realism to the replica, and it only works with the stock magazines. So as I said, this one doesn't have that follower that comes out. So with this one, you will just keep dry firing. So dry firing basically means you're firing your replica, but there are no BBs coming out. If you don't want that, or if you, because it's sometimes hard to notice if you're in the middle of a quick action moment or something, then you have to use the stock magazines. Those will tell your replica to stop firing. But I don't use these stock magazines. I use the PTS EPM ones. I really like these mags. They feed well. They're just a bit iffy at the start, so you don't fill them up because they will deform your BBs. Yes, the spring is that strong, it will deform BBs. So basically what you do is you fill it up until you start to feel like, I use an Odin speed loader. So I'm not sure if you've seen them. They're the big ones with the crank. They're suggested to load these ones. If you try to load it with a basic speed loader, they will break because they can't handle the spring. So even the Odin speed loader struggles with these. So you just fill it up until it starts to get a bit iffy, like it doesn't want to, and that's where you actually have to stop, because otherwise you'll get feeding issues. So try to go a bit like bit below halfway, so this little guy will keep going up until it's full. Don't try to fill it all the way up because you'll get issues. As I said, your BBs will deform and you will get feeding issues. And basically every time you try to go a little bit further until eventually you can fill them all the way up. They're good mags, but they have their quirks. Not everyone is a fan of them. I'm not gonna say they are the best mags out there, but I use them and they work for me, so I honestly don't see the point of using other mags. Now there are a few things you need to note about a Wolverine. You can see there's the unjamming. So basically what this does on a real one is it unjams if there's a blockage in your barrel. But this does nothing at all. It's just purely for the realism that they added this. It's a bit finicky. But then again, it has no function, so... And then the charging handle does nothing at all. It is on a spring, but it won't do anything at all. So usually what it does on an AEG is open up the bolt slides, dust cover. No, this is the dust cover. Sorry, so usually you pull it, this opens up, and then you can adjust your hub. This one doesn't have that. And also this is a non-functioning dust cover, so it won't close. As you can see, it doesn't even line up. It's just purely there for the cosmetics. So that's pretty much all there is to say about the Wolverine. They're very nicely built. They just are quite expensive, but if you end up getting one, their performance is amazing, and they just are fantastic to use. Just gonna put it together first. Oops, maybe a bit further back might be handful. So make sure it lines up. There we go. Now, if you want to put it together, always make sure you put this one in first into the stock, like so. Don't force it, just slowly feed it in. There we go. Actually, am I doing it wrong again? There was this one first. So yeah, it's a bit tricky at the start. Push it in. Put this one in here. There we go. Push it down. No, I was right. So push this one in here. Close it up. Push the pin in, and there we go. And that's it. Now it's all together. Pins are nicely in. Just for the last, before I stop this video, just gonna show you the, so it's a bit stiff, but it locks in nicely. Slight bit of wobble, but it's okay. The new stock, barely any wobble. And that's basically how it looks. Very nice. Bolt release, mag release. It doesn't drop out. As you can tell, there's a bit of friction with the mag well. So you can't do that cool mag eject. But it works, it functions, it's nice. So I don't really mind. But that's something to keep in mind if you do like those cool quick reloads. Then it's easier if it pops out. Maybe it might improve because this is a new one. I can tell because there's no friction on the upper part. So I do hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm very much a novice, as you can probably tell. This was just to show off my pride and joy. And I hope to see you in my other videos. You can always feel free to ask me anything. I'll always be more than happy to help. I hope you have a good day, and I hope you take care of yourself. Goodbye.